Come home now. Your fiancé is beating your grandfather. The words left Black Maid Naomi Carter's mouth in a whisper, but billionaire Ethan Blackwood heard every one of them. Then his voice changed. Where are you? In the West Library. What happened? Naomi looked across the room. Ethan's 78-year-old grandfather, Henry Blackwood, was braced against the edge of a leather chair, one hand gripping his cane. His eyes were furious. Standing in front of him was Ethan's fiancée, Victoria Lane. In her right hand was a thin leather strap from Henry's old riding case. Her left hand held a yellow envelope. She wants something your grandfather found, Naomi said. And she's not leaving without it. Victoria turned. Her face went white when she saw the phone. Who are you calling? Naomi stepped backward. Ethan. Victoria crossed the library. Give me the phone. No. Victoria grabbed Naomi's wrist. Henry struck the floor with his cane. Take your hands off her. Victoria spun toward him. You should have stayed out of this. You're threatening me in my own house and still think you're the clever one. Ethan's voice came through the phone. Naomi, put me on speaker. She did. Victoria. The room went still. Victoria slowly released Naomi. Ethan, this isn't what it looks like. I'm 12 minutes away. Her eyes flicked toward the yellow envelope. Good, Henry said. Maybe you'll finally tell him why his father's signature is inside that envelope. Victoria's face tightened. That sentence had started 2 hours earlier. At 6 that evening, Naomi had been clearing tea from Henry's private sitting room when he asked her to close the door. Do you know why I trust you? He asked. Naomi smiled carefully. Because I don't break your expensive china. Because you notice things and don't pretend you didn't. He slid a small brass key across the table. The number 27 was stamped into it. Naomi frowned. What does it open? A deposit box beneath this house. She looked at him. Henry leaned closer. Victoria believes I'm too old to understand what she's doing. What is she doing? Trying to marry Ethan before Monday. The wedding is Saturday. Exactly. Henry opened a drawer and removed the yellow envelope. Inside were copies of bank transfers, property records, and one old photograph. Naomi recognized Ethan immediately. He was 17 in the picture, standing beside his father, Richard Blackwood. Beside Richard stood a woman Naomi had never seen. On the back, someone had written, "She knows who signed it." Naomi looked up. Signed what? Henry pulled out the final page. It was a transfer authorization for $46 million. Richard Blackwood's signature appeared at the bottom. Henry tapped it. My son never signed this. Then who did? That is what Richard was trying to prove before he died. Ethan's father had supposedly died in a boating accident 14 years earlier. 3 days before the accident, he told me someone inside Blackwood Holdings was moving money through employee pension accounts. Employees. Mostly lower-level workers. Drivers, cleaners, warehouse staff. People executives assumed would never have lawyers powerful enough to challenge them. Naomi thought of her mother. She had worked for Blackwood Holdings for 9 years. Then lost half her retirement savings after the company claimed an accounting error. Henry saw the change in her face. Your mother was one of them. Naomi stopped breathing. You knew. I found her name this morning. He opened a ledger. There it was. Carter, Denise. Beside it. Account closed. Liability transferred. Naomi's hands trembled. My mother died believing she made a mistake with her pension forms. She didn't. Before Naomi could answer, footsteps approached. Henry quickly returned the records to the envelope. Victoria entered without knocking. She wore a white silk dress and carried a champagne glass. Her smile vanished when she saw Naomi. What are you doing here? Working, Naomi said. Victoria looked at Henry. And what are you showing her? Family history. Victoria's fingers tightened around the glass. Naomi, leave. Henry said, she stays. Then she smiled. Of course. Left. She knows. How? Because that transfer doesn't lead only to stolen pensions. He gave Naomi the brass key. It leads to Victoria's family. At 7:30, Ethan left the mansion for an emergency board meeting. At 7:42, the estate security chief changed the West Wing camera schedule. At 7:50, Henry disappeared from dinner. Naomi found him in the library. Victoria was already there. The yellow envelope was on the desk. "Give it to me," Victoria said. Henry refused. "You marry my grandson in 4 days, and every sealed trust account opens to you." Victoria's voice dropped. "You have no idea what you're accusing me of. I know your mother's maiden name appears on 3 shell companies." Victoria slapped the desk. Henry didn't flinch. Then Victoria grabbed the envelope. Henry held on. She shoved his chair backward, struck the bookcase. Naomi ran into the room. "Stop!" Victoria looked at her. "You again." Henry tried to stand. Victoria tore the leather strap from an antique writing case and raised it. Naomi moved between them. "Don't." Victoria's eyes narrowed. "You think because Ethan is kind to you, you're protected?" "No." Naomi took out her phone. "I think because he loves his grandfather, you should be afraid." That was when she called him. Now Ethan was 9 minutes away. Victoria looked toward the library door. Then at Henry. Then at Naomi. "You two have no idea what you've done." Henry smiled. "Then enlighten us." Victoria slowly lifted the yellow envelope. "It isn't evidence." Naomi frowned. "What is it?" "Bait." A phone began ringing inside the envelope. Henry's smile disappeared. Victoria opened it. A tiny black device had been hidden between the documents. Screen displayed a live location map. One blinking dot was moving toward Blackwood Manor. Victoria whispered, "You called Ethan home exactly like they wanted." "Who wanted?" Victoria looked at him. "The person who killed Richard." The library lights suddenly went out. Naomi heard glass break. Henry shouted. Something moved behind her. Then the phone in her hand lit up. A message appeared from an unknown number. "Thank you for bringing Ethan home." Second message followed. "Now open box 27. Naomi looked down at the brass key in her palm. Outside, tires screamed across the driveway. Ethan had arrived. Then a gunshot-like crack echoed from somewhere beneath the house. Not a gun. A lock breaking. Henry whispered into the darkness. "Naomi, whatever happens, do not let Victoria get that key." Victoria answered from somewhere near the door. "You still think I'm the one you should be afraid of?" Emergency lights flickered on. The yellow envelope was gone. So was Victoria. And on the library floor where she had been standing, lay Ethan's father's wedding ring. Henry stared at it. That ring was buried with Richard. Naomi felt her blood run cold. From the hallway, Ethan shouted, "Grandfather!" Henry grabbed Naomi's arm. If Richard's ring is here, then someone opened his grave. The basement alarm began to scream. And Naomi realized box 27 was not beneath the house. It was beneath the family cemetery. Ethan burst into the West Library as the basement alarm pulsed through Blackwood Manor. He stopped at the doorway. His grandfather gripped Naomi's arm beside the overturned chair. Victoria was gone. What happened? Naomi held up Richard Blackwood's wedding ring. Ethan's face changed. "That was buried with my father." Henry nodded. "And box 27 is not under this house." Ethan looked at the brass key in Naomi's hand. "Where is it?" "The family cemetery." A message appeared on Naomi's phone. 9 minutes. "Open the box or Richard dies again." Ethan read it twice. "What does that mean?" Henry's voice dropped. "It means whoever staged your father's death knows we found the grave." Ethan turned toward the hallway. "Security." No one answered. Naomi looked toward the corridor. 2 guards disappeared. Ethan checked his phone. No signal. Someone had jammed the manor. Henry pushed himself upright. We go through the chapel passage. You're staying here, Ethan said. Henry glared. I spent 14 years waiting. And I'm not losing you on it. Naomi touched Henry's shoulder. I'll go with him. Henry removed a silver chain from beneath his shirt. A second key hung from it. Naomi frowned. You said box 27 needed the brass key. It needs both. Ethan took the silver key. What's inside? Henry hesitated. The last thing your father trusted me to hide. They crossed the courtyard toward the family chapel. Rain had started. A stone path led toward the Blackwood cemetery. Ethan slowed beside Richard's grave. Fresh boot prints marked the disturbed soil. Someone was here tonight. Ethan knelt beside the headstone. A metal plate had been installed behind it. Number 27. Naomi inserted the brass key. Ethan inserted the silver one. Both turned. A section of stone shifted open. Inside was a waterproof black case. Ethan reached for it. Naomi caught his wrist. Wait. A thin wire ran beneath the case. Ethan froze. Alarm. Maybe. She followed it toward a pressure sensor. If you lift the case, someone will know. Ethan looked at her. They already know we're here. The countdown reached 6 minutes. He lifted it. Lights came on across the cemetery. A speaker crackled. Victoria's voice filled the rain. Ethan, don't open it. He looked around. Where are you? Trying to stop you from making the same mistake your father made. Victoria stood beneath the chapel archway, soaked. Ethan held the case tighter. You attacked my grandfather. I was trying to get the envelope before Edmund's men did. You hit him. Victoria's jaw tightened. Yes. At least you admit it. I'm not asking you to forgive me. Naomi stepped forward. Then why should we believe you? Victoria looked at her. Because the men who entered the library weren't mine. Whose were they? Edmund Blackwood's. Ethan's eyes hardened. My uncle is in Europe. No. He's inside your father's mausoleum. Then Henry's voice came through Naomi's phone. Ethan, open the case. Victoria shouted. Don't. Ethan unlocked it. Inside was a digital recorder, a photograph, and a sealed DNA report. Ethan opened the report first. His hands started trembling. Naomi leaned closer. The report compared Richard Blackwood's medical sample with remains recovered from the boating accident. No biological match. Ethan whispered. The body wasn't his. Victoria closed her eyes. Naomi picked up the photograph. Richard stood beside a younger Edmund at a private airfield. Between them stood Naomi's mother, Denise Carter. Naomi's breath caught. My mother knew both of them. Ethan turned on the recorder. Richard's voice filled the cemetery. If Ethan is hearing this, then Edmund finally moved against me. Ethan went still. I discovered he has been stealing from workers through pension accounts and using the Warren companies to move the money. Victoria flinched. Richard continued. Celeste Warren knows enough to destroy him. Naomi looked at Victoria. Celeste. Victoria swallowed. My mother. The recorder continued. If anything happens to me, Denise Carter has the original employee files. I gave her the location because nobody in my family knew I trusted her. Naomi's eyes filled. Her mother had died without telling her. Then Richard said something that changed everything. Do not assume Victoria is part of it. She was a child when this began. Ethan stared at his fiancée. Victoria looked away. Then why did you attack grandfather? Because Edmund has my mother. Naomi's phone buzzed. A live video appeared. Celeste Warren sat tied to a chair inside a stone room. Behind her stood Edmund Blackwood. He smiled into the camera. Thank you for opening box 27. Ethan looked toward the mausoleum. Its iron doors opened and Edmund stepped out. 2 men stood behind him. One held a tablet. The other kept a pistol lowered. Edmund raised his hands. Before anyone does something heroic, understand this. He tapped the tablet. Second video appeared. Henry Blackwood sat alone in the West Library. A red laser dot moved across the wall behind him. Ethan went pale. Edmund smiled. Your grandfather is still part of the negotiation. Naomi looked at Victoria. Victoria whispered. He made me bring you here. Ethan clenched the black case. What do you want? The DNA report. Richard's recording. And Naomi Carter. Naomi stared at him. Why me? Edmund's smile disappeared. Because your mother hid the original pension files somewhere only her daughter can open. Naomi shook her head. I don't know where. You will. He raised the tablet. Words appeared across the screen. Carter Employee Archive. Access requires family verification. Naomi's stomach dropped. Ethan stepped in front of her. She's not going anywhere. Edmund looked amused. Then Henry dies first. The cemetery lights shut off. A single gunshot cracked through the rain. Naomi dropped behind the headstone. Ethan pulled Victoria down beside him. When emergency lights returned, Edmund was gone. So was the black case. And Henry's live video had changed. His chair was empty. On the library floor lay his cane. Beneath it was one message. Bring Naomi to the old pension building. Loan. Rain hammered the graves as the final message vanished. Naomi read the message again. Bring Naomi to the old pension building. Loan. Ethan took the phone. You're not going alone. Victoria wiped rain from her face. If Edmund sees security, Henry dies. Naomi tightened her grip around the brass key. Then we stop guessing. 20 minutes later, they reached the abandoned Blackwood pension building. Had been closed for 11 years. Broken windows stared down at them. One red lamp glowed above the entrance. Naomi stepped from the car. Ethan followed. I said alone. You also said you didn't know where your mother hid the files. Victoria opened the passenger door. You need to see this. A message from Celeste had arrived. Third floor. Records room. Trust Naomi. Victoria stared at it. My mother sent this. Then she's alive, Naomi said. For now. They entered through a side door. Old photographs of Blackwood employees still covered the lobby walls. Naomi stopped at one. Her mother, Denise Carter, stood beside Richard Blackwood. Ethan whispered. They worked together. A speaker crackled. Edmund's voice filled the lobby. Naomi Carter. Third floor. Everyone else stays there. Ethan moved toward the stairs. Naomi blocked him. If Henry is here, I need time. You're asking me to trust Edmund. No. Trust me. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Naomi climbed alone. The third floor records room stood open. Inside sat Henry. His hands were tied, but he was conscious. Naomi. She rushed to him. Are you hurt? Only my pride. She freed him with a broken plastic edge from a file tray. Where's Edmund? Henry pointed toward the far wall. Behind it. There's no door. Your mother designed one. He revealed a metal plate beneath an old pension poster. A fingerprint scanner glowed. Naomi pressed her thumb against it. Nothing happened. Then she saw words engraved beneath it. Family verification requires two Carters. Henry nodded. Your mother never trusted one person with everything. My mother is dead. Henry looked at her. She had another child. Naomi froze. A door opened behind them. A black man in his early 30s stepped inside. He had Naomi's eyes. My name is Caleb Carter. Naomi stared. You're my brother. Half-brother. My mother never told me. She was trying to keep me alive. Caleb approached the scanner. Edmund found me 3 months ago. He's been forcing me to locate the archive. Why didn't you call me? Because everyone close to me gets watched. He placed his thumb beside hers. The wall opened. Behind it was an archive packed with pension files, original signatures, employee statements, and sealed evidence boxes. Hundreds of names. Drivers, cleaners, warehouse workers. People blamed for money they never stole. Caleb pointed to a red box. Denise Carter. Naomi opened it. Inside was a recorder. Her mother appeared on screen. If Naomi is watching this, Edmund found the building. Naomi covered her mouth. Richard Blackwood discovered the theft. I helped him copy the files. But Edmund was never acting alone. Henry leaned closer. Denise continued. The person controlling the pension accounts was someone Richard trusted more than his brother. Ethan's voice suddenly came through Naomi's phone. Naomi, get out. What happened? Victoria disappeared. Every light in the archive switched on. A second screen activated. Victoria stood beside Edmund. She wasn't restrained. She was holding Henry's cane. Naomi whispered, "No." Edmund smiled. "Now you understand." Victoria stepped closer to him. "I'm sorry." Edmund placed a hand on her shoulder. Victoria was never protecting Celeste. She was protecting me. Henry whispered, "She played us." Caleb shook his head. "No." He pointed at Victoria's hand. She was tapping Henry's cane against the floor. 3 taps. Buzz, 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 3. That's a code, Caleb said. Naomi remembered the employee filing system. She searched box 323. Inside was another recorder. Richard Blackwood appeared on screen. Live. Older. Standing beside Celeste Warren. Naomi stopped breathing. Richard spoke. "If Edmund has reached the Carter archive, do not trust what you see next." Naomi grabbed the recorder and checked its date. It had been filmed 6 weeks earlier. Richard had not survived 14 years ago. He had been alive recently enough to know Edmund was searching for the archive. Celeste had known too. The revelation opened a worse question. If Richard was alive, why had he allowed Ethan to mourn him for half his life? And why was Victoria standing beside the man hunting them? The video cut. Crash exploded downstairs. Ethan shouted through the phone. "They're inside." The archive door slammed shut. Red lights flashed. A countdown appeared. 10 minutes until incineration. Henry stared at Naomi. Edmund isn't stealing the evidence anymore. Caleb grabbed the red box. He's going to burn every worker's proof with us inside. Then Victoria's voice came through the sealed wall. "Naomi, don't open the main door." A gunshot cracked. Victoria screamed. Victoria screamed. Naomi slammed both palms against the sealed archive door. "Victoria!" No answer. The countdown dropped to 9 minutes. Henry searched the wall for another exit. Naomi checked Richard's recorder. One final file remained. She opened it. Richard appeared beside Celeste. If the Carter archive is triggered, the fire system can only be stopped from the control room beneath the building. Caleb pointed toward the floor. "There's an access hatch under these cabinets." A steel hatch appeared beneath a shelf. Caleb climbed down first. Naomi followed. They emerged inside a maintenance room. Through a glass panel, Edmund stood at the control console. Victoria was on the floor nearby, holding her shoulder. She was alive. Ethan stood locked behind another barrier. Naomi spotted Celeste beside the emergency controls. She was not restrained. "Celeste," Naomi whispered. Celeste turned. Edmund laughed. Finally, Naomi understood. Celeste had not been another hostage. She had been waiting. Victoria looked at her mother with disgust. "You told me you were protecting me. I was protecting our family. You helped him steal from hundreds of workers." Celeste's face hardened. "I helped build what this family deserved." Edmund reached for the purge switch. Naomi rushed forward. He turned too late. She struck his wrist aside and drove him away from the console. Edmund swung at her. Naomi ducked, trapped his arm, and forced him against the wall. The purge countdown hit 4 minutes. Caleb unlocked Ethan's barrier. Ethan ran to Victoria. "You were signaling us." She nodded. "I needed Edmund to think I was still useful." Henry entered behind them. Celeste reached for the manual override. Victoria stepped between them. "Don't." Celeste stared at her daughter. "You would choose them over me." Victoria shook her head. "I'm choosing the people you stole from." Celeste lunged. Victoria caught her wrist. Naomi moved to the console. 2 authorization slots appeared. Carter. Blackwood. Caleb placed his hand on the Carter scanner. Ethan placed his on the Blackwood scanner. Access denied. Henry looked at the screen. "It needs the original witnesses." Naomi's stomach dropped. "Denise is dead." A voice came from the doorway. "No, she isn't." Everyone turned. An older black woman stepped into the room. Naomi stopped breathing. "Mom." Denise Carter's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry." Richard entered behind her. Ethan froze. "Dad." There was no time for reunions. Denise placed her hand on the Carter scanner. Richard placed his on the Blackwood scanner. The countdown stopped at 6 seconds. Archive secured. Police flooded the building minutes later. Edmund and Celeste were arrested. The pension files proved decades of theft and forged signatures. Victoria cooperated fully and faced consequences for attacking Henry and helping Edmund manipulate the investigation. Richard explained that Edmund had threatened their families. For the first time, Naomi understood why her mother had disappeared. Staying hidden had been the only way to keep the evidence alive. Months later, every stolen pension account was restored. Henry recovered. Richard returned publicly. Denise reunited with Naomi and Caleb. Ethan created an independent worker protection division and asked Naomi to lead it. She accepted on one condition. No employee is ever treated like their voice doesn't matter again. Ethan nodded. Agreed. At the first restitution ceremony, Henry stood beside Naomi. "You saved more than me that night." Naomi looked at hundreds of workers receiving restored accounts. Victoria had beaten an old man to silence a secret. Instead, the Black Maid's phone call brought Ethan home, opened the archive, exposed 2 families, and returned millions to people who had been ignored. And the person everyone had underestimated became the reason the truth survived.